who are the keyword, you have to be very careful, okay. The question they are asking is, who among the above? They are given a group of people. They are asking, who among the above is or are losers during inflationary situation? One important point to note down regarding inflation is that, okay, if you remember this point, you can answer any question, okay. Just have an idea, creditor and debtor, okay. In inflationary situation, that is when the price level is increasing, okay, creditor or creditors will be loser and debtor will always be gainer. Now to just remember this important point, okay. So for example, because the net interest rate will vary, for example, see, if the interest rate is 8%, inflation is 6%, then the net effective interest rate, then the net effective interest rate is only 2%. So during when the inflation is high, okay, if inflation is low, 4% or 3%, then the net effective interest rate will also comparatively increase, okay. So when there is inflation, you need know that the creditor are those people who give loan, okay. Since the creditor gave loan, they will be loser, and debtor who have taken loan, actually after taking into consideration, they are paying only very less interest rate. So during inflationary period, debtor will be gainer, creditor will be loser. So this important point, if you note down such type of question, you can answer it, okay. So that we will see that, okay. Now we know that, see, creditor has been given here. Creditor is the loser, so 2 has to be there in the answer key, okay. 2 has to be there in the answer key. So if 2 is there in the answer key, okay, creditor is actually loser. So 1A, you can eliminate A because creditor has to be there. And what about debtor? Debtor is not loser, debtor is gainer. 4 should not be there in the answer key. Debtor should not be there in the answer key. Then we can eliminate C, then we can eliminate D. So by using this method, we have solved this question. So your answer here is B, 2 and 3 only. Okay. So it means that both, see, fixed income group. What is fixed income group? People who are getting a fixed income. Okay. See, like fixed, there are flexible income group also. Flexible income group means along with their basic salary, they will be getting some allowances, DA like that, okay, based on the inflation. So for the flexible income group, inflation will not be a problem because they will be getting an allowance based on that inflation, but not for fixed income group, okay. So fixed income group people also are losers. So here the answer is 2 and 3. Now equity holders, shareholders, okay. So naturally when there is inflation and due to that if any company is having any profit, naturally that profit will be linked to or shared accordingly. So equity holders are not losers, okay. So your answer, you can come to an answer is B, 2 and 3. But what I suggest you is that use this logic. Generally question will be linked with creditor and gainer in regarding the loser. If you know this concept, you can, using elimination method, you will get your answer, okay. So try to solve questions like this. Many questions can be answered like this. Now next question is regarding core inflation and headline inflation. So you need to know what is a core inflation and what is a headline inflation, okay. So basically headline inflation are those indexes, okay, where the inflation is measured and the inflation data is presented regularly, mostly monthly in a newspaper, okay. So headline inflation is general overall inflation which the government releases on a regular basis and it comes as a headline in the newspaper. That's why it is called as headline inflation, okay. So basically the headline inflation demonstrates the overall inflation in the economy. Now if you look into the many components in the inflationary index, okay, like wholesale price index or consumer price index, there are many items which are volatile because you cannot predict their price movement. For example, oil products, okay, petroleum products or food items. Food items and petroleum or oil fuel items, okay, food and fuel items are, their price is almost volatile. It is unpredictable, okay. So in order to get accurate data about the inflation, from the overall inflation, these core items, like, see, in the core inflation, these volatile items, okay, in the case of core inflation, volatile items like fuel, food items will be removed, and the remaining items where there will be a general trend of in the prices will be measuring the inflation. That inflation is core inflation. So in the core inflation, what we do is we will remove the fluctuating volatile items like fuel and food items, and then we will measure the inflation. That is what is called as core inflation. Okay. So be very clear what is core inflation and headline inflation. In relation to core inflation, basically it will represent the underlying trend inflation. Okay, the correct underlying trend regarding inflation can be measured because it will really show the inflationary trend. Unlike, because volatile items have been removed, okay, it will show the real inflationary trend, underlying inflationary trend, and it will helps the monitor this to know the future path of the overall inflation. Okay, this core inflation will get us an idea about the future path, okay, regarding the overall inflation. So these 2 points you need to keep in mind, what is core inflation and what is headline inflation. Okay, in India generally, okay, consumer price index is considered as the headline inflation, even though wholesale price index is also being used, but our major headline inflation, for if you take into consideration, okay, RBI's bi-monthly monetary policy, etc. Then the RBI's bi-monthly monetary policy, then when the government takes any decision, so the general inflation what we look into is consumer price index. Okay, so our major headline inflation is consumer price index. Okay, so every month consumer price index data will be released. Okay, so it will, based on that this headline inflation, consumer price index only, RBI's bi-monthly monetary policy is influenced. Okay, now we'll try to solve the question. Core inflation represents the underlying trend inflation and drives the future path of overall inflation. First statement is correct. If first statement is correct, we can eliminate B and we can eliminate C. So without reading the second, we know that by elimination, if you look into the choice, we know that second statement is correct. The headline inflation measure demonstrate overall inflation in the economy. That's a correct statement. Regarding in India, headline inflation is measured through the wholesale price index. No. Mainly, the headline inflation in India is measured through the consumer price index. So the third statement is wrong. So your answer will be A, 1 and 2 only.